Hey everyone, welcome back to the Elemental Evan Show. Today I have a very special guest here with me. Today we have Kate on our show. Welcome to the show, Kate.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Super excited to be here and be talking with you. We have a mutual friend who's an incredible guy. His name's Jesse, and he was kind enough to put us in touch. He knows that we both practice Acro Yoga, so obviously we have a very common thread there. But really happy to have you on the show, Kate. How's your morning and everything going today?
Yeah, it's beautiful. I'm in Mexico and I went to the beach this morning and I'm just feeling really excited to be connecting with you. So going
So
good so
cool.
far.
Nice. What part of Mexico are you in?
I'm in Veracruz right now.
Okay, very cool. I haven't been to too many parts of Mexico, but I've wanted to travel more of it, mainly just Baja California as well as DF. So want to go around a little bit more, especially in Oaxaca.
Yeah, and this area is not very touristy. It's very like rugged. I'm in the main city, but this state of Veracruz is very full of nature and farms, and there's no people from like other countries. It's like only Latino people travel to this part of Mexico. So I'm getting like the authentic Mexican experience.
That's the best right there, though, for sure. Honestly, when you can get submerged in a culture like that, to me is the best right there. So that's really cool. Which kind of leads me to my rapid fire questions, which are first off, where are you from?
I grew up in the Pacific Northwest near Seattle and have lived in Hawaii majority of my adult life. So I feel like those are my two homes that I'm from.
Beautiful. And
And
then
yes, I'm in Mexico right now.
awesome. I was also going to ask like where you're based out of, but I think it's kind of clear as well. So still a little mixture of Kauai as well as the Seattle area, and then also Mexico as well.
Yeah, I'm not really based in Seattle area anymore. I go there like once a year to visit my mom, but I'm mostly just tropical locations. I've just been traveling for the last 3 years. I haven't had a home base. I just have a suitcase and I just buy one-way flights and just go where my heart or my business lead me.
Beautiful. No, that's a nice way to do it. I mean, it's a great way to see the world and to practice a little bit of unattachment, I think, right?
Definitely, definitely.
Very cool. And then two more questions here. What is your favorite book?
So my favorite book is Alice in Wonderland. It's been my favorite book since I was a very little girl. I love that story.
It's classic. No, that's amazing. Very good. And then also, what is your favorite quote?
I think my favorite quote is one that it's like a poem that me and my cousin memorized when we were little, and it's "I've laughed until my cheeks are tight. I've laughed until my stomach's sore. And if I could stop laughing, I might remember what I'm laughing for."
Hmm.
Because I love to laugh and bring joy in the world. So that's a good quote to live by.
I like that so much, honestly. And also I think it's cool to see everyone's quotes in books because it also like says a little bit about the person. And even just in the short time, I can tell you have such a like lively and happy energy. So it's really cool. I'd love to see that.
Thank you.
And then I was also going to ask, are you Heda is your partner, is that correct?
Yes.
And then so is Heda is from Mexico originally, correct?
Yeah, so he's from Veracruz. He's the reason
Okay.
I'm here.
That's what I was
And
wondering.
he has a movement, an acro studio, yoga, acro aerial silks based here in Veracruz. So
That's
he's,
amazing.
yeah, he's coming back to host events in his studio every so often, and he has regular classes. So it's cool to be here.
So cool. Now, for the listeners who don't already know this, Kate and Heda, you both put on a acro like festival, kind of. Is that correct?
Well, we've been doing something a little bit different. He hosts a lot of festivals. They're called Mex Acro is the brand, and they're in Mexico, different areas of Mexico. And what we've been doing together is more of like a retreat experience. So we've been combining like an adventure retreat with acro as well. So there we have a chef that comes and prepares all your food. It's all inclusive and it's about a week long generally, and you get to like explore beaches or waterfalls, or we take you to beautiful tropical places, and then we get to practice acro yoga, handstands, a little bit of Thai massage, sort of activities throughout the week.
That's amazing. Is that how you and Heda met, was through Acro Yoga, or was it through a different
Yes.
unrelated path? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, we were actually both taking like an advanced class in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, and that's how we met.
Amazing. And so definitely as an Acro Yoga practitioner myself, I want to really kind of dive in a bit on this. I have done one episode in the past with my partner on Acro Yoga and kind of what it means to us. But in terms of Acro Yoga, how did you find Acro Yoga, or for those of you who don't know, like partner yoga?
Yeah, so I was a yoga teacher and I met this girl who we didn't even know each other that long, but she's like, I feel like you would love Acro Yoga. And I had kind of like seen it, but this was like 10 years ago. So it wasn't as like popular. It wasn't like on Instagram all the time as much. And so I kind of like seen it like once or twice, but didn't really know that much about it and didn't know anyone that did it. And she brought me to an event where it was just like a jam where people were jamming and doing acro. And I just fell in love like instantly. Like my body was like, yes, you were born for this. Like, this is your passion. And I've literally just been obsessed. And I mean, I've been traveling. So it's not like I've been part of like one community. I've been having to kind of, you know, find different acro yoga communities around the world, but it's been incredible. I've met so many people through the practice, and yeah, it's just definitely a huge part of who I am.
Yeah, no, that's really incredible for Ashley and I as well. It's kind of funny you said that. Like, yeah, almost about 10 years now ago for us was when we first started trying acro, and there were no classes. There were no classes. There was no one really offering it. It was, yeah, maybe a couple videos online that you could find, which is what we ended up doing and just kind of trying it out for the first time. And eventually, you know, getting better slowly on our own. And then we did finally find a teacher, and then obviously progress pretty fast through there. But finding the acro community is where it's at, I think. You find
Yeah.
some really cool people, and they're usually just really warm and open and willing to, you know, accept anybody in, and you know, you can go and just jam, and I think you can really grow in the community and also learn some really cool skills in there as well. So that's awesome. How's the community out in Kauai as well as in Mexico?
Kauai is kind of, I mean, if you've been to Kauai, people are definitely on island time there. So having like a set time that you meet and do something seems to be like a struggle. But definitely, like, I always meet people that want to do acro when I'm there, and it's a little bit smaller, but I have some friends that love it. So we'll get together and we'll just train together. And that's the cool thing about acro is you only really need one other person to do it. I mean, it's awesome to have a group and have people to spot you, but you really only need one other person that's excited about it. So yeah, it's a slowly growing community on Kauai, I would say. And then
Gotcha.
Mexico depends where you're at. Some places there's a lot of acro, some places not so much. There's a lot of high level acrobats here in Mexico, like a lot of people training to perform in the circus. So you get a lot of that, which is super inspiring. And then a lot of people traveling to Mexico, especially in the last few years, because it's been open, and that they want to, you know, do acro. So I've met people from all like 20 to 30 different countries doing acro here in Mexico.
That's amazing. So yeah, no, it's really cool. And that's the other thing too, is it's global, right? So I mean, you can literally go to any country and pretty much find an acro yoga community, which is really cool.
And you don't have to speak, you don't even have to speak their language. Like, I've traveled to Japan, I've traveled to France, like all these different places, and found communities where the people were not speaking English and I wasn't speaking their language, and we were able to do acro because it's the language of acro yoga. And
Yeah.
there's just moves that are universal that everybody knows.
Yeah, no, 100%. And also, it's almost one of those things where after you do it for long enough, you don't need to really speak, especially with your partner, where it's like you just kind of move a foot in one direction and then, oh yeah, just kind of lean into that side star or whatever, you know?
Yes.
So really cool. And then I wanted to talk a bit about what has acro yoga kind of translated into in terms of your relationship. So I know for Ashley and I, we've spoken about, you know, the level of trust that it creates and the level of communication that has to be present for you to properly navigate through new moves that are kind of difficult or scary. I think there's a lot of parallels there, in terms of the relationship between two people as well as in terms of acro yoga. So have you seen any of that with you and Heda?
Yes. I mean, I would say that I've seen it more in just personal development, like my life, like self-development, learning how to say, like learning how to speak up and say, what I want, what I don't want, what I'm comfortable with, like personal boundaries, learning to trust myself and definitely learning to trust others, but like know when it's safe to trust others. Heda and I both were very like immersed in the acro yoga community, like acro yoga world when we met. So I think definitely it's given us opportunities to work on our communication and have it be even more clear. But a lot of like what you were saying before, like we didn't really speak a lot because we already knew all the moves. You know what I mean? So we definitely are always like, pushing ourselves to learn new moves, and that's different. But it's interesting because we both sort of like didn't have to communicate too much. We were just already like, it was in our bodies, but on a personal level, I've seen so many parallels to like my personal growth and my communication with just anybody and my acro yoga journey.
Yeah. It's definitely, I think, a little different for flyers and bases in some ways, because I know that a flyer is obviously at more risk than the base. Obviously, the flyer could fall on the base, but I mean, overall, like the flyer is up in the air, and so there's more of a risk factor, which maybe plays a little bit of a role. But I think in general, it's, one of those things where you are trying something that's new and can be scary. And it's really interesting to see how, like you said, like, is that a person that you even feel comfortable enough to trust? Like maybe they say they've got you in all this, but like mentally you might not, or, energetically you might not feel that this person's got you. And so it's really interesting in kind of like terms of like how you read people, as well as definitely with communication. Like hands down, communication has been a really big one, in terms of, like if Ashley doesn't feel comfortable and being like, hey, like, bring me down, let's retry this, you know what I mean? And learning how to like respond to that and like accept it and move forward and grow. It's just been, it's a really interesting practice that I think when I talk about it and no one has done acro yoga before, they're kind of like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool, but then they try and they're like, oh my God, yeah, like 100%.
Yeah. And you really have to listen to your body. Like you were saying, like you might get a sense that somebody isn't safe, and just listening to your body. Or like, yeah, when like Heda and me are trying a new move, he'll be like, I know you can do it, but I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. Like I need a spotter, I need lines, like I need something to try this, and just, but I have to listen to my body, because sometimes I'm like, yeah, I can do it, or I should trust this person. You get excited in the moment, but it really invites you to like slow down and really listen to, like, because your body's going to tell you, your body is really going to send you clear signals. So it's an amazing embodiment practice, but also communication with other. Like I love the collaborative aspects. Like I practiced yoga for probably like 15 years before I even tried acro yoga. And I love yoga, but it's like a self-study practice, and acro yoga opens up like this whole new opportunity to get to know yourself better and trust yourself, but also like with another person and co-create together, which is so fun.
Yeah, it's there's a level of play in acro yoga that you kind of don't really get in a lot of other forms of movement, I guess I would say. For sure, there's some sports that can, obviously they're a form of play. And especially if it's, you're just having fun, you're not really being like super competitive with it. Like you could have a similar outcome. But in terms of acro yoga, it is definitely one of those things where you can just kind of, whether it's with a friend or with a partner, whatever it may be, you have this opportunity to really connect on a playful level, which might sound kind of weird to people these days, but it is super necessary. Like when you go to an acro jam or an acro class, you should leave that class feeling like elevated and lighthearted, and like you just had a really good time literally playing with people. And I know I was hearing, I can't remember who it was that said this, but they said that pretty much every single mammal in the world actually has some form of play. like with their children or whatever it may be. So like there's always some form of play. You can look at like baby wolves, you know, and they're always like messing around with each other. And humans are one of the mammals that are actually losing the amount of play that they have as time goes on. Like we are playing less and less. So it's really interesting. And there's a lot of developmental things that occur socially, mentally, that occur through play.
Yeah, definitely. And we get so serious as we get older and we forget how to play,
Yes.
So yeah, Acro gives you that invitation to just like have fun. Like you might fall down, like you might fall on somebody, just laugh about it and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, no, it's been a really beautiful practice, and so I'm really excited to have someone also to come on the show and speak a little bit towards that. But in terms of also aside from Acro Yoga, you also do you call it inner beauty. You're an inner beauty coach, is that correct?
Yes, yes. So I've been coaching for also about 10 years. I launched my business and I found Acro Yoga in the same year.
Beautiful. I love how that works.
Yeah, so it was like not intentional. And I started actually like teaching acro as well around the same time as I started coaching, but I really focused on inner beauty, like all the aspects of inner beauty. So like your health, your gut health, your microbiome, your inner monologue, your inner thoughts, your everything that sort of is going on inside that we're not, maybe like the subconscious, the nervous system, how it's like working behind the scenes, all these things that are kind of happening on the inside of the body, but they affect our outward experience and they also affect our health and our vitality. So I said inner beauty expert because I'm very multi-passionate and I knew I wasn't going to be able to stick with one topic, but I knew that all of them were going to have a common thread of this sort of the inner experience and whatever that may be, physical, spiritual, emotional, mental, all the aspects.
Oh, 100%. I love to hear you say that because here on the Elemental Evan show, it's about taking all elements of health, right? And not just focusing on one specific thing, which usually boils down to like food and exercise. There's a whole other realm of health. And I love that you said, the inner experience that you're having, because one of the things that I notice a lot is back when I was actually taking clients on one-on-one was their external environment or vice versa, their external environment or their internal environment tended to really kind of reflect each other, and so if you saw their external environment was chaos and their house was a mess and they're just like all over the place, like internally they were also having a lot of really bad things going on. And it was like if they just took care of one or the other. So take some time to clean, take some time for yourself to get away from all the chaos, and just take some time to read a book and relax, collect your thoughts, and or vice versa, like take some time to clean the inner side of you, right? Like whether that's through meditation or through food or whatever it may be, it like tended to have a direct correlation to each other.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like the freedom that I've experienced through like having location freedom, like also is internal, because I don't have a lot of stuff to take care of. I just have a suitcase. And like what you said at the beginning of the show, like detachment, like I'm not attached to one spot. I'm not like stuck in some like stagnant routine or bad habit. Like I can switch things up all the time because I've done it kind of externally and internally kind of simultaneously, but they support each other, which is super cool.
Yeah, no. And also, I love that you just said that right now about how you just have the suitcase, right? And I actually just got back from traveling as well with my fiance. We went to Portugal, Morocco, and France, and a day in Switzerland, just like hopped over there. But, when we travel really light. We don't like to take a massive suitcase because we tend to do crazy stuff and be on the go a lot of the time. So we usually just take like really small suitcases. And, for myself personally, I don't have a ton of clothes at my house. I mean, I have more than I would have while I'm traveling. And then definitely for Ashley, she has more clothes than she has when she's traveling. But it's so funny because when we're traveling, you never think twice about what you're going to wear, right? Like you just have your suitcase and whatever's in there is like, that's what you got. That's what you got to work with. So just, like this whole idea of like having more options as being better, a lot of times just clouds your judgment and makes it more difficult, right? Like I think having more options sometimes is such a facade, and really at the end of the day, it's just clothes. You're going to look fine with whatever you're wearing. No one's going to judge you. Like if you wore the same pants like yesterday, and so it's really interesting. I love that part of travel because it really does show you like you can live with so much less.
Yeah, it's very liberating to just, and you only get to, like, what I did is like, I just kept my favorite clothes. I was like, this is awesome. Like there's always the clothes in the back of the closet that you hardly ever wear, but you should keep it for whatever reason you have. But it's like to just wear what your favorite stuff and just bring your favorite things. And also like every like month I'll go through my stuff. And if I haven't used something in like a month or two, I just give it to somebody or get rid of it, because I'm like, if I'm not using it, why am I carrying it around? You know?
No,
it's very freeing.
I love that. Sorry, I didn't mean to deviate away from the inner beauty coaching as well either. I just like that came to me and I was like, I have to go on that. But in terms of the inner coaching or inner beauty coaching, what does typically that look like in terms of like what clients do you work with? What are a lot of the maybe like issues that they're dealing with, and kind of like what does the process look like on that?
Yeah, I mean, I do a lot of group programs. So I have a lot of courses, whether they're, pre-recorded or they're live, that we touch on topics like meditation, body confidence. I used to do a little bit more nutrition, but I have like one course that talks a little bit about nutrition and mindset, owning your value. I'm doing a course right now called Quantum Oceans, and it's like I do guided meditations that bring you into your parasympathetic and help people reprogram their subconscious mind. So I work a lot with like yoga nidra practices and things that bring you into like a deep relaxation state, because I feel like our culture is very like external and it's very like go, 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 push, hustle, like this sort of vibe. I think we're starting to shift, but I feel like bringing your body, your nervous system into balance helps you kind of access your subconscious. And this allows you to start to change your perception of yourself and change your inner dialogue and change your perception of your body. And when you bring your body into balance, your parasympathetic like naturally works to start healing you. So it happens like physiological benefits are amazing, but also you get the benefits of like having more energy, being more productive, like feeling better about yourself, like following through on goals, like these types of things as well. So I work like very much, we go deep inside to like dissect what's happening. And I do work with clients one-on-one sometimes, but I like to do the group environment and bring people together and create a sense of community and support for people that are kind of maybe going through this journey, the self-development journey, or maybe they want to start a business, or they want to, manifest something specific in their life and they're feeling very isolated and alone. Like, they're kind of in this mainstream life and they don't feel like they have a support system in place of other people that are doing this inner work as well. So I love to create those communities so that people feel supported and like, they have other people on this journey with them. They're not alone.
Oh yeah, no, I 100% I agree with that. I also think coming from someone who's done one-on-one coaching, I'm actually moving more into the realm of doing like group coaching, because I feel that I'm actually able to give more of my best self to the group as opposed to individually. Like, of course, individually, you're going to have my full attention, but for me to have so many, like the amount of clients that I could have in one group where I could really give my all and like time it well, it's all on the same path and course. It's much, I think, coming from this from a coach perspective, I used to think that one-on-one was where it's at. And for sure, like if you're willing to pay the high ticket price, it might be, right? Because that person will limit the amount of people they'll take on. But as a coach, I'm able to give really my best to a group setting and show up, everyone's on the same page. I don't have to always be scouring over, oh, wait, what week are you on? And all this. So I love that you said that. I think, people tend to think like, oh, well, I would rather have the one-on-one experience, but actually I think the group setting is really great. And like you said, the the collective society of the group, being able to all chime in, and there's a lot of knowledge in a group. You know, there's people who have been there and they can provide you with some knowledge that you might not have had, you know?
Yeah, other people can bring their wisdom as well. I believe like we're all co-creating, and also like the shy people that like don't speak up or maybe would never even enroll in group coaching can show up and kind of hide in the background and hear other people's questions and learn from that. So it kind of creates a space for like all personalities, and like the extroverted personalities get to like interact with the other people in the group. And so it's like and as a coach, I feel the same. I feel like I'm more energized by a group training than like a one-on-one call for whatever reason. Like, I don't know why, but I like it more. It's more fun for me.
Oh, 100%. Like, absolutely agree. I mean, I have certain clients that I really just would get energized off of with their one-on-one calls, but overall group setting for me is where it's at. But I also wanted to mention once again, kind of on the topic of like of food and stuff. And I like that you said, you know, one of my big focuses is on food and exercise and stuff, definitely. But I also focus on the internal self as well, because people, they don't, in a way, I think our society kind of doesn't want to hear that part yet. They're like, oh, well, you know, but what about like my dieting and this and that? And it's like, man, there's a lot going on in here. And if you can fix that and get that right and do some really simple like lifestyle changes, that is going to have a profound effect on how you show up, how you feel. Like you said, with the parasympathetic nervous system, you are correct. We live a massive portion of our lives in a sympathetic state. And it might be low level, but regardless, you're in sympathetic state. Your adrenals are cranking out like, cortisol and freaking just going to town, and they're getting drained. Your mind isn't right. It's constantly thinking. You think all these thoughts that are typically just reoccurring, and then you go to bed thinking these thoughts, and you have trouble going to bed because you can't like quiet the mind. So getting into the parasympathetic state, taking some deep breaths, quieting the mind, and just being present, I think can have some of the most profound effects, even over, you know, changing in diet, which is really saying a lot, because for a person eating the standard American diet, switching over to like some whole foods, that's pretty massive. But I still think that getting the internal environment right is probably even more impactful.
Yeah. And what I was finding is I started out my coaching practice like being like a health coach. And what I was finding was like, you can give people all the information, but if they're all scattered and they're like full of self-loathing and they're full of like all these negative emotions about themselves, and they're frazzled because they're in that adrenal like loop all the time with all these stress hormones, they're not going to follow through and eat the healthy food. And so there was that piece, like I just was really struggling to get my clients the results they wanted. And then the other piece was like, I truly believe when you slow down and you start listening to your body, you can intuitively eat. I don't believe in one diet. I don't think you need to be on this schedule and or even be on a diet. Like I don't have any dietary restrictions in my life. Like I'm eating, if you were to follow me around, you're like, dang, this girl's eating really healthy. But I let myself eat whatever I want because I trust my body to guide me. But that took a process of me connecting with myself, healing my nervous system, healing my negative self-talk brain that's telling me that I'm, you know, ugly or fat or a loser, or I never follow through, or whatever those stories are. I had to fix that actually first before I could be as consistent as I wanted to be with a healthy lifestyle. And so I was realizing like I need to go backwards and address like the root problem before I can really inspire people to eat healthy, because there's tons of information out there. Like and if you just think about it logically, like, okay, what comes from nature, like this is going to be more healthy for you. But people are so addicted to that sugar, and it's getting them through those drops when their stress hormones drop and they're like exhausted. It's like getting them through those moments. And so they have this crazy vicious cycle going on inside. The chemical imbalance in their body is crazy. And so like addressing that first and creating like this fertile soil that then you can start to plant some healthy habits into, just seemed, I was getting like better results with my clients, and they were happier and they were like feeling better about themselves and making better choices just naturally, because they were going and working like with that soil, that deep rooted, what was going on underneath everything first. Because the food is kind of like a surface thing, you know, it's like at the top. Like, so it was interesting, my own personal story with, you know, eating, becoming to eat more healthy or whatever. And then also just like seeing that story play out with so many of my clients really led me to sort of shift the focus of how I work with the people in my programs.
Yeah, no, it's, I'm so happy to hear you say that. And also, I know you mentioned something about gut health earlier, and one of the main things is, regardless of what food you're eating, if your digestion is not working properly, then it's, you know, I mean, of course, like, I'm not saying that eating a hot dog is the same thing as eating like a banana, right? Like it's different, but nonetheless, if your digestion is not working properly and you're not able to properly absorb the, you know, vitamins and minerals coming from that food, you know, it's really not going to be as beneficial. And on top of that, you have people who, like we said, are in such a sympathetic state, which is not the state you're supposed to be in when you're digesting food. And, you know, we have people who are eating in the car, eating while walking, you know, they're arguing on the phone while they're eating something, which is terrible, right? Like, I mean, for most people, if you've ever been in an argument with someone, like, the last thing you want to do is sit down to a massive plate of food. Like, you're in a fight or flight response. So your body is literally not ready to eat, right? And so, like you said, getting into the parasympathetic state, that alone is going to help you to digest your food so much better if you just slow down your chewing, slow down, you know, actually sit down, maybe say a prayer, give thanks, you have some gratitude for the food. You know, there's so many like little things that sound maybe insignificant, but they're so impactful. And yeah, like you said, it's tapping within first, right? It's getting down to that deep rooted stuff. And, you know, a lot of times that can be like a relationship with food. And once you heal that up, that's going to make the massive shift, because yeah, like you said, there's people literally like addicted to sugar, and, you know, they're eating in a way that they've been eating like this for so long. Maybe it's fast food all the time or whatever it may be, that they just feel like that's the normal, right? And then it's not until you take a couple weeks away from that and eat some, you know, some healthy foods and sit down and relax and activate the parasympathetic nervous system, all that, that you actually realize, oh my God, like, I feel way better.
Yeah, definitely. And you made me think of a couple things that I want to share. One is, it only takes 21 days to change your taste buds. So if you think about that, like, if you can abstain from those like super addictive foods for 21 days, that's all it takes. 3 weeks, you can have a completely different palate. You're going to crave, your body's literally going to be craving different foods, and your microbiome, I think all of it within 2 or 3 weeks is all shifted. So it doesn't take a long time. You have to make a dramatic change. But another thing that you kind of, to share what you were talking about with, it's so important to slow down. There was a really interesting study that I read about where they were putting people on the Mediterranean diet, because we're all told like, oh, the Mediterranean diet is like super healthy and it's going to make you lose weight. And the people in the study wanted to lose weight, but they were eating the Mediterranean diet and they weren't seeing these like massive results that they thought they were going to see. And so they're like looking deeper, like, what is it about the Mediterranean culture? Like, what goes along with the food? And then they were noticing that a lot of these Mediterranean cultures, the people sit down for like an hour and like talk with their family and like enjoy their food. So they said, okay, you can eat whatever you want. We don't care if it's Mediterranean or whatever. Like, you don't have to follow a diet, but you have to sit down for an hour each time you eat. And they were actually seeing greater results with those people than the people that were eating just the Mediterranean diet. So to show like lifestyle can be as impactful or maybe more impactful than actually the food that you're consuming, because those people actually were like, yeah, we're slowing down. Maybe they weren't eating as much because they were eating more slowly or whatever. Their nervous system was digesting the food better. So I thought that was such a really interesting study about this topic.
Yeah, no, lifestyle is everything, right? I mean, even if you look at the blue zones, they don't just look at their diet, they look at what they do, right? And there's like, I think there was like 9 different aspects that they specifically look at that really help them kind of determine like the lifespan or whatever. But Yeah, like of course diet is going to play a role, but the way you are living your life is so much more impactful. And I think that even kind of pours over into like the media you're consuming. What are you scrolling through on Instagram or Facebook or whatever it may be? Like, is it beneficial stuff that's growing you and helping you to expand as a person, or is it stuff that's just low level, low vibration, stuff. And I think that plays such a large role, as well as the conversations that we're having. I've got a really good group of friends around me, which I'm grateful for, because when I talk with them, I notice our conversations are very uplifting, very empowering, very like, hey, you got this. If you need help, let me know, like blah, blah, like really checking in and seeing and like caring about you as a person. Whereas like maybe you talk to an old friend from back in the day, or even a family member, it could be that as well. And just the conversations can be so like just gossipy and putting people down, and it's just like, whoa, like wait, why are we even talking about that? Like, why does that even make it into our conversation? Like, why are we wasting time on that, right? Like, that's their life. And so I find that it's very as I'm getting older and just kind of like going through life, I'm really noticing that it's health is literally all around us. It is the lifestyle, it is the food you're eating, and it is literally not just what you're consuming in your mouth, but also like what you're consuming through your ears and your eyes. That plays a massive role as well.
Yeah, because I think about a lot of times like people being like, oh, I'm gonna wind down like at the end of the day, and they're watching some like TV show or some movie, but like most of the TV shows and movies nowadays are like so stressful, and they want you to watch. They're addictive. They have a lot of violence. They have a lot of conflict. So like your emotions are like super stressed while you're winding down and like getting ready for sleep. And it's just like creating like spiking your stress hormones, or like a lot of like media is fear-based. So it's like trying to make you afraid of something, also affecting your nervous system. So you're like, a lot of the things that we're encouraged to consume media wise are really adding to that spike in stress hormones in the body and bringing you into the sympathetic. Like you said, maybe it's not like the highest version of the sympathetic nervous system, but it's there low level like all the time. And so you never give yourself like a break to like relax and enjoy your life.
Yeah. Definitely when Ashley and I started first dating, some of the big major shifts that I went through was, for one, like the amount of food and speed in which I would eat food, because I was in sports a lot and I just would wolf down food. And then also the sugar content. Those were two major things that really shift in the very beginning. And then the other one was the TV. Ashley just didn't naturally watch as much TV, whereas in my household, my mom would be washing the dishes with the news on, and it would just be in the background, like no one's really totally tuning into it. But it was really almost like an uncomfortable feeling to be at home and not have like noise, And so once I started getting more used to that and more comfortable with just kind of like maybe being with my thoughts or whatever it may be, it was really interesting to then go back home and, see my mom just with like the TV on constantly. And it's like, hey, like, I'll turn that off and talk to you. And then she's just like, whoa, what are you doing? Which she's cool with talking to me, but like when she's doing her stuff, like she's got her groove going on. And so it's super interesting. I think that's also like with the taste buds deal, it's like you said, 21 days for the taste buds to change, which is absolutely true. I crave sugar way less. Not to say I don't still eat it. Of course, it still sneaks in and I have my little moments, but I have dramatically reduced my sugar consumption. Like, yeah, I mean, more than half for sure. And then in terms of, with the media as well, it's something that like you just kind of develop that habit over time and you get comfortable not having to be attached to whatever that was.
Yeah, and with a lot of these things, it's just like we're habitual creatures like humans. Our body, our like nervous system is designed to just like, let's repeat what we did yesterday, because it kind of like kept us alive. It's like our survival instinct. So we're very habitual. We like those patterns. And we become sort of addicted to patterns, whether it's external or internal or whatever, whether it's your thoughts, what you're watching, like what you're doing throughout the day. And so when you want to change that, there's always going to be a period of like discomfort. And you're just like uncomfortable in your body, like want to crawl out of your skin because you're so like addicted to like some little habit, like whether it's having the TV on or whether it's like having that like sweet thing at a certain point of the day or whatever it is. So like I feel like if you want to create like massive transformation in your life, like the key is you have to fall in love with the discomfort. Be like, okay, discomfort means like something better is happening on the other side. Like I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to get, whatever, my life is going to become more of what I actually want it to be, but there's going to be that uncomfortable period, whether it's food or habits or exercise, like you can relate it to almost anything. There's going to be those really uncomfortable moments when you're growing. And so I've just been trying to like fall in love, like get myself out of my comfort zone as much as I can, just fall in love with that discomfort because there's so much magic, like on the other side of that, or even through it, like in those discomfort moments, you like notice things and connect with people in different ways and realize things that maybe you would have totally missed if you hadn't let yourself go there. So
100%. It's the journey. It's the journey to get to where you're wanting to go. And, you think that what you want is really the goal, but it's all the learning that happens in between that really is what's so valuable. I love that you said that. Yeah, Kate, these are excellent topics and I'm so happy to talk with you on these. It's like solidified my belief in lifestyle change and doing the inner work to really see it on the outside. I think that's extremely impactful, especially the Mediterranean diet example you gave. That was awesome. But this is going to start coming to the end of our podcast episode, which is always sad for me because I have incredible conversations like this. I love it. But in this moment, if you wouldn't mind just sharing some last minute thoughts you might have, or even places where people can connect with you at. Of course, I will put these in the show notes for all of you listeners out there so you can easily find Kate, but please take this moment to share anything you have to share.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Yes, this has been really, really fun. I feel like we have common threads and themes through our life, which is, I love meeting like-minded people. And I feel like really what I believe and what I see with what you're sharing as well here, like all the content you're sharing, is everything's connected, so we we want to isolate, like, I'm going to work on this area or this area, but they're all connected. So just, doing a little bit of shifts and changes in one area, it's going to ripple effect into another area. And that's really fun. I think it's really fun when you think about it and when you can really embody that and you can get out of this, like, making everything its own lane and just realize, like, I'm a multifaceted person I'm into a lot of different things and I have a lot of different passions and there's a lot of different ways I can grow and become better. And even if I'm not doing like what I want in this area, I am doing some stuff in this area. So I get to feel good about that because it's going to ripple effect into my whole life and make my life more enjoyable and more fun and allow me to feel more free in the end. Because that's really my goal, is to feel more free in every way. So if people want to follow along, I'm on Instagram. It's Kate_in_paradise. I share like all the places I travel. I share upcoming retreats, share different programs that I'm offering there. So I post there on all the time. So you can connect with me there, or my website is kateinparadise.com. You can find out about what I'm doing or join my email list there. So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Kate. Everyone, please connect with Kate. She obviously knows the right direction to head in terms of the work to be done. As a person who has done a lot of the work myself and teaches people about it, I can tell you know what you're doing, and you're on the right path. I think personally, anytime someone asks, like, how do you live your life, as opposed to, the basics, like, oh, like, what are you eating and all, that to me says a lot. So thank you very much for sharing all of your wisdom on here, Kate. And yes, everyone, please go find Kate. Follow her newsletter, follow her on Instagram, go on one of her amazing Acro adventures with her and Heda, and just connect. And Kate, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, everybody. You know the deal. It's do everything with good intentions and connect to your elements. Peace.